couple of years ago, I became very, very unwell. I had a whole host of issues and I just became in the worst state of health of my life. So it started with LPR, which they call silent reflux, which is where you just get a lump in your throat, well, the feeling of a lump in your throat, and it's very hard to swallow, feeling like you have an obstruction there. I went to the doctors and I had a camera put down, and that revealed that I did have silent reflux, and it also revealed that I had something called grade A esophagitis, which is where the acid comes up into your throat and actually burns the esophagus and leaves like scarring and just damage to the esophagus basically. So that's why I was having all this trouble swallowing. Things didn't just stop there though, it just seemed to get worse. That was the first point of my body screaming at me with symptoms. But then I became suddenly sensitive to every single food you can imagine. And by food reactions, what I would get is swollen eyes, I'd get a skin rash, or I'd get styes on my eyes was a common one, or a sore mouth, or ulcers on my tongue. So I was getting these reactions, and to the point where I couldn't eat anything actually. So for a while I did actually stop eating because it was just easier for me to not eat anything rather than to have all these issues that I was having after I was eating. I had severe constipation. I just could not go to the toilet. Previous to this, I had always been pretty unwell throughout my whole life. Without realising it, I just thought that it was something that everybody got, and that was just what we had to put up with. But I would suffer from chronic UTIs, fatigue, loss of energy, strep throat. I had reoccurring strep throat all the time, and tonsillitis, chronic ear infections. And I just had a host of other issues. But like I said, I just thought that this was all something normal that we had to put up with in our lives. The end of 21, beginning of 2022 was when I started getting this symptom in my throat, the blockage feeling, and just feeling generally unwell. I went to the doctors and I got put on some medication, and the medication just made me worse and not better. So during this time, I was just getting more and more depressed because everything that I was doing was not getting rid of this feeling in my throat, and I just couldn't eat. I was losing weight like there was no tomorrow, and my weight actually dropped to the lowest weight I've been since probably an early teenager. I got down to 7 stone 12, which for me is very tiny. I usually sit well around 9 to 9.5 stone. So 7 stone 12 for me was very, very skinny, and you could actually see all my bones in my back. It just wasn't a great look, but I just couldn't put on weight because I simply couldn't eat. Everything I ate, I reacted to, and it would give me this feeling of a blockage in my throat. I got really, really depressed, and in fact, I had the worst depression that I had ever faced in my life previously before. I got to a really, really bad state, and I had major anxiety as well, having panic attacks and just thinking this is how I've got to live forever now. I just completely lost all hope. I had no hope. I just thought I'm ill, I've got this, nothing's working, medication's not working, doctors can't help me. I've got to live like this forever, I can't eat. And bearing in mind, I was someone who loved food. I was such a foodie. So this was a massive, massive thing for me to be going through. Because I wasn't getting anywhere and I was just getting majorly depressed, I would sit on the sofa all day and I would not want to do anything. And by that, I mean, I let my house get into a complete mess. I wasn't doing any of the housework. I didn't want to look after my children. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to go out of the house. I didn't want to do anything social. It was just a really, really hard time. I had to do something about it. I couldn't live how I was living. I couldn't carry on like that. So I took matters into my own hands and went onto Google and started Googling what can I do for the problems that I'm having. I discovered a nutritionist who doesn't live too far from me, so I went to see her, and she said it's all about your diet. So that's what I did next. I focused on my diet. So I cut out a lot of the food. I cut out all processed food, and I cut out all sugar and refined grains, all seed oils, anything that is processed, basically, I cut it all out. And I was having lots and lots of vegetables, grains like quinoa or rice, and also low fat proteins. So I was having, say, salmon and chicken. They were my two go-to, really. So I was just piling my plate high with vegetables and having that little bit of protein on the side. And that diet did work for me for a bit, and it took the lump feeling in my throat away. So I thought, oh, okay, I'm onto something here. I'm getting somewhere. I've got rid of that, which is making me feel better overall, and my anxiety is lessening overall because I'm feeling a little bit better. But I still wasn't feeling right by all means. So on this diet, I was completely starving. I was hungry all the time. So I would just actually snack on oats throughout the day, because I'd eat a meal and I'd say to my husband, I said I could eat that 2-3 times over because I'm so bloody hungry. And the vegetables and the low fat protein was just not filling for me. So I would just snack all day on oats. In March 2023, I got rushed into hospital with emergency appendicitis, and I had to have an emergency appendectomy. So I went in for that and I had my surgery. So whilst I was in hospital, I was eating the hospital food, which is just the standard, what I was eating before I had any of these problems, just a standard diet, pretty much a bit of everything. I was having processed foods, I was having refined grains, I was having sugar. So I was back to this in hospital. Came out of hospital and I went straight back onto my nutritionist plan again of low fat protein and loads and loads of vegetables, high fibre. And I just took such a long time to recover. My recovery was really long and just felt like it was taking forever. And I could just feel, I think you know yourself how when you're not feeling very well. And I was just not feeling right. I was not feeling well. I still had my anxiety. I still had my really, really bad depression. I still had my joint pain. I was still reacting to food. And I'm thinking, why am I still reacting to food but I'm eating so healthy? I was eating really healthy vegetables, all these grains, like I said, like quinoa and rice, and I was having sweet potatoes. And I'd wake up the next morning and I had swollen eyes, I'd have styes in my eyes, sore mouth, rash on my skin, and I was just reacting to this food. And I just got to the point where I was just desperate, and I just thought, I just can't live like this anymore. It was really wearing me down, and I just was not feeling well. My energy was low. I just wasn't feeling great. I just woke up and I just used to think, oh God, another day to get through. So this was in March, and May 2023, I was feeling a little bit better and I'd recovered a bit from my surgery, and I was up and about and doing a bit more around the house. So I decided that I was going to cook a roast dinner for my family. So I got a shoulder of lamb, and when that lamb was ready and I took it out the oven, I've explained this before in my interviews and things that I've done with people, but I struggle to explain it, to be honest. But the smell, the look, and even the sound of that lamb coming out of the oven, the crackling of the fat, I honestly, I just can't put into words how much my body was telling me to eat that lamb. I was honestly getting a message, you have to eat this lamb. My body just really wanted it. And that's the only way I can explain it. It was just such an overwhelming feeling. You have to eat this lamb. Every part of my body wanted that lamb, apart from my brain. I was thinking, nope, I cannot have that lamb, because I've been to my nutritionist, and from what I've read on the internet with reflux especially, they tell you to avoid fat, especially saturated fat and anything that's really fatty, because it will aggravate your reflux and make you worse. So this lamb was oozing with fat, it was so fatty. And my nutritionist had told me not to eat it. And she always said to try not to eat red meat. And if I do, cut the fat off. And if I have chicken, to take the skin off. Basically, don't eat any fat. So in my head, I was thinking, I can't eat that. But that was going against all of my body's wishes. And I decided I was going to Google how bad is meat really for you. And the first 10 or so things that came up on the list were all bad. So red meat will give you cancer, red meat will give you bowel cancer, red meat is high in saturated fat, which can lead to heart problems. Eating too much red meat in excess will give you a heart attack, you'll have a stroke, all these negative things. Until I got quite far down the bottom, I kept scrolling down, and I got to a page, and it was something, a document on the carnivore diet, and I'd never heard of the carnivore diet before, but something just intrigued me about it, so I clicked on there. And as I was reading this information, I thought, do you know what? All of this on here, everything that I'm reading makes complete sense. Everything here makes sense to me. And it was basically saying what the carnivore diet is. And for those of you that don't know, like me, I had no idea, never heard of it before. It is a diet where you eat solely animal-based foods. So that can be any kind of meat, any animal organ, like your kidneys, your liver, heart, anything like that. Dairy, if you can tolerate, so milk, cheese, butter, and also eggs. You can have eggs as well. Anything from an animal, basically. Fish, seafood, all of that stuff. And they were basically saying that this diet mimics the diet of our ancestors, which makes complete sense. Think cavemen and what they would eat. And quite often people say you never saw a cave painting of a salad, which is completely true. Ancestors didn't have supermarkets, they didn't have bakeries, they didn't have all this processed crap available to them 24/7 like we have. They would have to go out, hunt something down, make a kill, eat, and then they wouldn't know when they're going to eat again. So they would eat until they were comfortably full, until they had had enough, and then they would be fasting until they've got their next catch or their next kill, whatever. A little thing went off in my brain and I was like, yes, I'm onto something here. And for the first time, this whole time that I had been ill, I felt like I had a bit of hope. I did have a little bit of lamb, but I must say I was still slightly worried about having the lamb because of, like I said before, my nutritionist and the things that I'd heard about the fat making the acid reflux worse, blah, blah, blah. But I did have a little bit. After reading that, it put confidence in me and my body was screaming to eat that, and I needed to eat that lamb. So I had a little bit, but I didn't stuff my face on it, which I could have quite easily done. When my body got a taste of that, oh my God, it was just the nicest tasting food I'd ever had in my whole life. I can still remember the feeling now. I can still taste it now. Better than any chocolate bar or any ice cream that I'd ever had in my whole life. And then that night, that was it then. I was on my phone and I was researching carnivore diet, carnivore diet, carnivore diet, into Google, into YouTube, anywhere that I can find any information on the carnivore diet, I was onto it. And I found so many interesting, exciting things, and especially testimonials from other people who had managed to cure things like MS, fibromyalgia, Alzheimer's, depression, anxiety, brain fog, fatigue, all these chronic illnesses in their body, autoimmune issues, cancer, all these different things that people had claimed that they had healed from eating a carnivore diet. The next day, I didn't even prepare or anything. I just decided I'm going for this. So the next morning I woke up, had 2 lamb chops for my breakfast, and that was it. Then I started this carnivore diet. And I can tell you now that my body, the whole time that I wasn't giving it the meat and the fat and the nutrients that my body actually needed, when I started eating this meat, I just could not get enough of it. I was just ravenous for this food. And it was such a nice feeling to start eating the food that my body wanted. So I did eat quite a lot at first. But the idea is that you eat until you are comfortably stuffed, which is exactly what I did. And I have now been doing the carnivore diet since May of last year, May 2023, and I'm still on it now. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart that everything, every problem that I had has completely healed, gone away. Silent reflux gone, LPR, whatever you want to call it, gone away. I don't have any food reactions anymore. I don't have styes in my eyes, sore mouth. I don't have any of that. I don't have joint pain. I used to get arthritis, pain in my hands and in my knees. I don't get any of that anymore. I am absolutely full of energy like I've never had before since I was a child. I wake up in the morning, I jump out of bed and I'm excited. I wake up in the morning and I feel excited. Even though I'm not really doing anything, I'm just excited to start my day. So I can jump out of bed, I've got energy, and I just go right until the moment that I come in at night and until I go to sleep. I am just full of it all the time, which I have not had in my adult life. That is something I haven't had before. A major thing for me is my depression has completely gone. My anxiety has completely gone, vanished. I don't get any anxiety at all. Any depression, it is just gone. My mindset is just amazing. I can't explain it. And my motivation, I just want to get things done. I've just got lists of things that I want to achieve and just do. And I've even noticed little things, benefits and things that I didn't even know were problems really. I just thought we had to live with them. Things like sensitive teeth. Earwax. I hardly get any earwax anymore. I get no sensitive teeth anymore, and I would never have put sensitive teeth down to what I was eating or earwax production down to what I was eating. I used to get Raynaud's syndrome in my hands, which is a really weird, they call it Raynaud's phenomenon actually, and if my hands got cold they would stiff up like this and I couldn't open them, and they go completely white where there's no blood circulation gone to my hand. They'd seize up like this and it would take a little while before I could bring them and use them back open again. And I couldn't feel them, they'd go completely numb, and that used to happen to me all the time. I used to get neuropathy in my legs. I'd get a tingling sensation down my legs. Don't get any of that anymore. I used to get verrucas on my feet. They've gone. I haven't got those anymore. I used to get acne and spots and like just weird things on my skin, which is completely gone. Don't get that. Sleepy dust in the mornings in your eyes. I just don't get any of that. It's just gone. And I just thought these were part of being a human being, that we wake up in the morning, we have a bit of sleepy dust in our eyes. And I forgot to mention, I was always blocked up in the morning as well. And I just thought that was normal. I just thought that we wake up in the morning and it takes us a while to clear so we can breathe properly. But now I wake up in the morning and I can breathe through my nose. I'm just completely clear and I don't have any of these problems anymore. As a child, I used to suffer from chronic ear infections, chronic UTIs and chronic throat infections, strep throat and tonsillitis. And I haven't had any of those since going carnivore. One major thing for me, which I was completely shocked by and had no idea that this had anything to do with inflammation, was I used to suffer from tinnitus. So for as long as I can remember, I've had tinnitus, a high ringing pitch in my ear, and I also had pulsatile tinnitus. So I go to bed at night, it was always when it was quiet, and I put my head on the pillow and I can feel a boom, 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 just a heartbeat I can hear it and feel it in my ear. And that was so annoying. And I just had that every single night. And I actually went to the doctor about that and they referred me to ENT, ear, nose and throat. And I got told that is just something you can't do anything about, something you have to live with. Well, guess what? I went carnivore and it's completely gone away. Carnivore also brought my periods back. When I became ill, I lost my periods. And that's quite a big thing really for a woman, because if you're cycling like we should be, having a regular menstrual cycle, it indicates health and that your body is healthy enough to be able to have a baby if you wanted. So I completely lost my period, and about 3 months into carnivore, my period came back. Before I went carnivore and I was on this diet with my nutritionist, I would go and get my vitamins and minerals checked, and I was always low in magnesium and vitamin D3. They were the two main things that I were low in. I'd come away and look at magnesium rich foods, which are things like spinach, dark chocolate, kale, nuts are all high in magnesium. So I would completely stuff my face with them to try and get this magnesium. I took supplements after supplements of magnesium. I'd go back and I'd still be deficient. And it was just so frustrating. Since going carnivore, I go and get my vitamins and minerals checked about every 3 months. And I am not kidding you, I do not supplement anything apart from omega-3. I do have cod liver oil, a high quality cod liver oil for my omega-3s. And that is the only thing that I supplement on a carnivore diet. And every single vitamin and mineral I have is fine. I do not have a deficiency in anything, even when I'm not taking anything. So that just goes to show that these animal products that I am eating, solely living off of, I don't have fruit, I don't have vegetables, I don't have anything else other than meat and eggs. It just goes to show that these products have every single nutrient in that our human body needs. And this is why I'm feeling so healthy and feeling so wonderful, because I have every nutrients that I need in my body to feel well and to feel good. My husband saw exactly what it had done for me, and he got inspired to do it himself. He started believing it because he'd been through this journey with me the whole way. So he knew when I was on my diet from my nutritionist that wasn't working. I was still unhappy, I was still not well, I was still depressed, I still had anxiety. And he saw the sudden change in me when I went to carnivore, and he really believed it. He was going to give it a go. He wasn't as ill as me, thankfully, but he did have a few issues. He suffered from plantar fasciitis, which is a really painful condition in the foot. He'd suffer from hamstring pain. He was always blocked up, sinus issues. He had recurring tonsillitis. He'd get eczema, athlete's foot. And he started the carnivore diet, and all of these things went away. And he just said to me, he said, I feel bloody fantastic, and it's all gone away. And he doesn't get any eczema anymore. He's had eczema for his whole life. The whole 10 years I've been with him, he's always had patches of eczema everywhere. Athlete's foot. And one thing, just quickly, I'll tell you before I go. The other night, again, I just could not believe. I said to him, I said, which leg is your varicose veins on? Because he always had really horrible, big, wobbly varicose veins in his leg. And he said, oh, they're here. And he said, oh, hang on a minute. And then we literally went through both of his legs with a fine tooth comb to find his varicose veins, and they are completely gone and they are vanished. Again, it's inflammation. As soon as you take the inflammation down, these symptoms go away. Hopefully I can just provide hope for even just one of you.